My next guest, Assemblyman Tim Donnelly, is running for governor as a Republican. He was born in Atlanta, Georgia, the third oldest among 14 children. Went to University of Michigan, where I attended school for 1 year. Then went to University of California, Irvine. Earned his BA in English. And then went to work for his dad in a small family business, supplying parts to plastics manufacturer. He founded the largest Minuteman chapter in California. And he has 20 years experience in the front lines of manufacturing, and he feels that he's the guy. The number is 1-800-222-5222. By the way, he is the 33rd District in San Bernardino, lives in Twin Peaks. Assemblyman Tim Donnelly, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Hey, Larry, it's great to be back on with you.
My pleasure. So, Assemblyman, you are a pro-life, anti-illegal immigration, anti-DREAM Act, pro-traditional marriage Republican. You think you can win statewide in California?
Absolutely.
Tell us how.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I didn't know you were a Wolverine.
Oh yeah, I went there for law school.
That's exciting news.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I don't want to talk about our season today. I'm sure you don't want to talk about it either.
No. Hey, I'm a Michigan and a Packers fan. Okay, it's painful.
Ouch.
But here's the thing. It's that concept of a Wolverine, which is a tiny, ferocious animal who doesn't understand when he takes on people that are bigger than him. And that's what we need. We need that kind of spirit. That's the California spirit, which is, I want my state back. I'm sick and tired of watching people come out here like the president today wants to talk about immigration. Well, the immigration problem we got in California is we got people leaving with jobs, businesses, and tax revenues. They're also taking their creative energy. They're taking what they contribute to the community. And this is happening to Republicans and Democrats and independents. And I believe that if voters in California are offered a crystal clear choice, rather than vanilla and vanilla light, that they actually get to choose chocolate or, mocha almond fudge or something exciting, they might actually change and turn this state around by putting somebody in there that is offering a clear pathway to prosperity.
My guest is Assemblyman Tim Donnelly. He's running for governor of California as a Republican. He's from the 33rd District. It's largely San Bernardino. Assemblyman, the polls show that about 20% of the electorate are Hispanic voters, and of those voters, the majority of them believe the Republican Party is A, racist, and B, only cares about the rich. How do you turn that around?
That's real simple. I just spent the week, I spent a couple days in Scottsdale talking to governors from around the country, in particular Republican governors. The governor who provided the most insight on that question was Governor Chris Christie of New Jersey. He was facing a blue state dominated by the left, dominated by public sector unions, and had a growing demographic that is Latino as well as African American. He went into those communities. And he said, the first couple times I went in there to talk to people, they didn't want me. They were heckling me. It was painful because the Republican Party has been branded so toxic. And he said, but I kept coming back. And I think the key is two things. First of all, show up and go to events that have nothing to do with politics. Meet people. Start to build some credibility among the leaders. First of all, just by showing some interest. And secondly, actively listen. And because you can't represent people if you don't listen to them. And rather than assume you know what's on their minds, ask them. And share with them what's in your heart. And I believe that's a winning combination. I believe that the principles that I'm standing for, I'm just an ordinary person who had a business in California until California regulated us out of business by pushing so many of my customers out of the state that I couldn't make a living anymore. And I know that my story is one that resonates with millions of Californians, whether they were business owners or whether they worked, in an industry like manufacturing or, heck, the show business. The film industry has been decimated here in California. That's our hallmark, iconic industry that provides so many jobs. It's one of the greenest industries there is. We've driven that out of the state of California. You mean to tell me we can't bring that back?
Assemblyman Tim Donnelly is my guest, running for governor of California as Republican. Assemblyman, when you are asked what will you do about the 10 to 12 million people who are here illegally, you will say what?
Well, it's real simple. We're a free country, and California used to pride itself on being the freest of all the states. So I say we throw it back to the people who are here illegally and say, look, you got a choice. We're going to offer you a couple of different options, some sort of, you can get your work visa, or you can participate in some sort of a guest worker program where you're only capable of sending your money home but not necessarily bringing your family here so that they become dependent on the taxpayers of California. But the third door, of course, is citizenship. Well, we have a pathway to citizenship. We're not going to create a new pathway that then pushes other people to the back of the line. That's not right. So, but if we put the choice over to the person who came here illegally and say, look, I want to streamline this process. I want to make it easier for everyone to come here because we need people here. And by the way, if you want to work, we want you here. And I want to get the government out of your way just like everybody else's. But you have to respect that we are going to have some rules. There is, and we can't do anything to undermine the rule of law.
Okay,
that's the cornerstone of a republic.
Assemblyman, hold on one second. Assemblyman Tim Donnelly is my guest. He's running for governor. He is from the 33rd District. That's in San Bernardino. When we come back, Gregory from Van Nuys wants to ask Assemblyman Donnelly about AB 60. That's the bill that Governor Brown signed to allow illegal aliens to drive cars in California. 1-800-222-5222. Larry Elder, Talk Radio 790 KBC with traffic first on the fours when you need it most. Assemblyman Tim Donnelly is my guest. He's running for governor as a Republican. And Gregory is in Van Nuys. Gregory, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Larry and Assemblyman Donnelly. I'm sure you're aware of AB 60. I've got the bill. I've looked it over. And it's very disconcerting to me that the governor, of all people, he's supposed to be there to defend and protect the sovereignty of this state of California. He's done just the opposite. In that bill, there are provisions to basically to dissuade law enforcement if they intercept someone who has one of these so-called driver permits to not determine that they're here illegally and not turn them over to
Gregory,
possible deportation.
do you have a question for Mr. Donnelly?
My question there is, would he be willing to support an effort to derail or repeal this law and put something in place that would prevent this?
Okay. Assemblyman, would you try and repeal AB 60?
That law is a disaster. Every which way you look at that law, it is a disaster. It isn't a license to drive for illegals. It is a license to sue. It doesn't have any requirements that you have insurance or that you even have a valid registration card. When you get one of these licenses, it is a separate but unequal license. It can't be used to board an aircraft, but it can be used to try to get a job. And if your future potential employer denies you employment, you can sue them for discrimination for not accepting this so-called pseudo-identification. So every which way you look, it makes it harder to do business in California because if you don't hire the person, you get sued. If you hire them, you're subject to up to $50,000 in penalties by the federal authorities. So it makes it harder to do business, and it's not going to make California streets any safer. So I would be willing to use the governor's power to undo any and every law that is a disaster. And this is one of those. I don't know if it's the top one or not, but I can certainly tell you it is one that deeply concerns me. And it really is an example of what's wrong in California. They cobbled this thing together in the last 3 hours of session. And it's just terrible policy every which way you look at it.
My guest is Republican Assemblyman Tim Donnelly. He's running for governor. Tony is in Irvine. Tony, go ahead.
Yeah, my advice was how to get some Latino voters. And I think what you have to do is you have to go after the Catholics. And what I would do is I try to get the Hispanic-speaking Catholics that are Republican and try to tell them why they probably don't realize it, but they're probably Republicans. They're not Democrats. I'd start with the big one, abortion. And if you could go at it from a religious point of view instead of a political, I think you have a better chance of flipping a lot of these people because, they're probably, a number of them, they've just been brainwashed to think that they're Democrats. And you do have to eventually tell them why the American people are really not for amnesty. It's because we don't want to depress the wages and all the other things that go along with that. And if you lay it out...
Okay, Tony, got it. Assemblyman, what's your reaction to that?
Well, we are starting to have some real success within the Hispanic community, in particular in the churches, on AB 1266, that bill that puts the boys in the girls' bathroom. I think that woke up a lot of people in every community, but in communities of faith in particular, that, hey, the Democrats don't have your back here. Governor Brown signed this bill that puts your child's education and privacy at risk, and it isn't going to do anything to get us from the bottom 3 spots in education nationally to the top 3 spots. So I think it... Yeah, go ahead.
No, you finish your thought.
No, I just think it's really important that we connect the campaign and the ideas that I'm going to campaign on to people's real lives. And, you know, education is the key to success. And a lot of Hispanic families, a lot of black families have been betrayed. You know, your zip code shouldn't determine your educational future.
Assemblyman Tim Donnelly is my guest. He's running for governor of California as a Republican. Assemblyman, as you know, Meg Whitman spent something like over $100 million of her own money, and she still lost. How much money do you have?
Well, I'll tell you what, we don't have that much, but we are raising money. We have an incredibly powerful message. We're not afraid to take controversial positions, and we're running at a different time. We are running at a time when people want an authentic voice and they want an authentic choice. And I believe that we will be able to win if we can raise 10% of what Jerry Brown raises.
Assemblyman, a judge just blocked the use of state bond money for the California bullet train. How do you feel about the bullet train?
I think I'm glad to see that they're going to put the bullet train to death. We don't need high-speed rail. We need high-speed waterways to get the water out to the government-created dust bowl so the farmers can farm. That's one of the most important industries in the state of California. So I think that's where our resources ought to go. We ought to take care of first things first and take care of our roads, our freeways, our bridges, our waterways, and make sure that California is sound financially before we start building projects like that. I'm so pleased to see a judge finally take a stand for the people.
Finally, Assemblyman, it is unclear, at least right now, whether or not Jerry Brown's going to run again. If he decides not to run, would that be easier for you than if he runs?
You know, I imagine maybe on the one hand it would, but you know, when you look at Jerry Brown's record, it is really criminal what he has done to the greatest state in the union, and I think a whole lot of Californians are sick and tired of being pushed out of their state. They love California, and they want to bring California pride back. And
Assemblyman, if people want to get involved, what's the website?
Our website is real simple. It's Elect Tim Donnelly. That's electtimdonnelly.com. You can also Google me. You can find me on Facebook. Please reach out to us. I believe together we can unite a divided majority here in the state of California. We can take our state back and save California for the future generations.
The website is electtimdonnelly.com. Assemblyman, good luck. Thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Godspeed.